Good evening, you're watching Brass Tacks. I'm Zaka Jacob. Is there trouble brewing in the Tata Group? Top leaders of the Tata Group of companies last night met with Union Home Minister Amit Shah and Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman. This happened late Tuesday evening. This amid rising tensions within Tata Trust over the board appointments and also some governance issues. It almost seems like deja vu at the Tata Group because this boardroom battle comes exactly 4 years after the Supreme Court settled a bitter power struggle over the sacking of then Tata Sons chairman Cyrus Mistry. But this time, the battleground is a step higher up the corporate hierarchy and involves infighting within Tata Trust, which is the non-profit and philanthropic organization that collectively owns 2/3 of equity in Tata Sons. So let's bring you up to speed with what is happening this time around, this fight that's happening between certain members of Tata Trust and certain members of Tata Sons. Who are the main protagonists and what are the main points of contention this time around? CNBC TV 18 is reporting that some of the key flashpoints that have led to the tensions include an equity infusion by Tata Sons into Tata International, which is chaired by Noel Tata. Now, this proposed 1,000 crore infusion was aimed at helping Tata International tide over some of its losses. Although the proposal was eventually cleared, this move became a source of disagreement among some of the trustees. There were also differences reportedly which emerged over Noel Tata's suggestion to create a deputy managing director position at Tata Sons, which some trustees reportedly were opposed to. In contrast, some of the other trustees are said to have proposed the appointment of Mehli Mistry, who is a member of the Tata Trust, to the Tata Sons board, an idea that was opposed by both Noel Tata and his allies in Tata Sons as well as in Tata Trust. So let's listen in to Shireen Bhan, who's the managing editor of CNBC TV 18, on what the latest is as far as this boardroom battle is concerned in one of India's largest conglomerates. And like I said, it almost seems like a deja vu because exactly 4 years ago, at that time, it was Cyrus Mistry versus Ratan Tata. Now, the protagonists have changed.
Well, isn't it ironic that almost a year since he took over as the chairman of Tata Trust, a new battle has emerged? Let's take our viewers through what is going on exactly. This is all source-based information, but what I am telling you is the story from both sides. There are two sides on the Tata Trust, one the Noel Tata side and the other are the trustees that come together under the Mehli Mistry side. So the story that I'm going to tell you comes from both sides. Now, the rift within the Tata Group has reached the corridors of power, and CNBC TV 18, as you know, accessed both sides of the story. Let's start with what happened last night. Noel Tata, the chairman of Tata Trust, N. Chandrasekharan, the chairman of Tata Sons, along with Tata Trust trustees Venu Srinivasan and Darius Kambata, met with Home Minister Amit Shah. We also learned that Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman was part of that meeting that took place in New Delhi. This was a crucial meeting, and we're given to understand that the government's intervention, the government's assistance was sought by the Noel Tata side. Now, the power struggle comes nearly a decade after the bitter public battle that we saw between the late Ratan Tata and the late Cyrus Mistry. Now, sources close to the Tata Group claim that a coup attempt has been made by 4 trustees. Now, who are these 4 trustees? Darius Kambata, who incidentally was part of that meeting that took place last night, JHC Jahangir, Pramit Javeri and Mehli Mistry. Now, the Noel Tata side alleges that these trustees tried to emasculate the leadership of Noel Tata and wanted to function, quote-unquote, as a super board. But sources close to the Mistry camp deny these allegations. They claim that the coup narrative is false and that there is no attempt on the part of the Mistry camp to try and usurp power. The Mistry camp claims that a false narrative is being painted to make them look, quote-unquote, like villains. Now, according to sources close to the Mistry camp, there are 3 key flashpoints that have led to the current round of escalation. First is the fund infusion into Tata International. Now, remember, Noel Tata is the chairman of Tata International, and an equity infusion was proposed to tide over the losses that Tata International was sitting on. The company is also saddled with a debt of around 2,000 crore rupees. Now, eventually, the fund infusion of 1,000 crore rupees by Tata Sons was cleared, but sources say the matter continues to remain, quote-unquote, unresolved. Another flashpoint is Noel Tata's idea to create a position of a deputy managing director at Tata Sons. Remember, there is no such position at Tata Sons, and Chandrasekaran enjoys the position as the chairman of Tata Sons. We learned that the mystery camp did not believe that this proposal had merit. This proposal also created differences of opinion between both sides.
All right, so the Tata Group is widely recognized and referred to as one of India's largest conglomerates. It's got a diverse portfolio spanning various key industries. It has a long history of growth. It was established by Jamsetji Tata under British colonial rule back in 1868. It's a sprawling empire. They make everything from steel to salt to software, and now, of course, Air India too is part of their portfolio. This conglomerate is now worth roughly $180 billion, making it one of the richest Indian companies, not just here in India, but around the world. It operates in over 100 countries globally. There are very few areas in which the Tata Group has not ventured. The group, in fact, deals with everything from tea to watches to luxury cars, opulent five-star hotels, you name it. So there isn't a part of your daily life which is not touched by a Tata product, and that's why this corporate boardroom battle is something that is of great significance and great curiosity value as well, even for ordinary people who might be interested in the story and who are watching this broadcast. But let's try and make sense of the nub of the issue. Let's go across to Bodhisattva Ganguly, who is consulting editor with Money Control. Bodhi, you heard what Shireen had to say a moment ago. So she's laid out the lay of the land, as it were, the protagonists, what the bone of contention is between certain members in Tata Trust and, of course, Tata Sons. Why did it reach the corridors of power? Because seldom do we see corporate boardroom tussles being settled, in Delhi, or certainly in Lutyens' Delhi.
Yeah, so that's quite unusual. So the nub of the matter is a meeting which was held on September 11, where the tussle between the two groups of trustees, as Shireen said, seems to have reached some kind of a flashpoint. So in that meeting, the group of four trustees essentially removed Vijay Singh. So there are two groups, right? There are four trustees, which includes Maili Mistry, Pramit Javeri, Darius Kambata, and Jahangir. And then there are three others, which is Noel Tata, which is the chairman, and Vijay Singh and Venu Srinivasan, who are now these three, the last three, are also, or in the case of Vijay Singh, they were directors on the Tata Sons board. That is, Tata Trust had nominated these three individuals, these three gentlemen, as directors of the Tata Sons board. Now, at the contentious September 11th meeting, the four trustees, who were therefore in a majority, removed Vijay Singh from the directorship of Tata Sons, right, on the ground that sufficient information, that they were being kept in the dark about what was being discussed in the Tata Sons board meeting. That's really the nub of the issue. Now, at that board meeting, the four directors, call them dissident directors or whatever whatever terminology you may prefer, they also proposed that Maili Mistry should be a director on the Tata Sons board. Now, this was opposed by Noel Tata, who was the chairman, and by Venu Srinivasan. This is there in the minutes of that day. And after they opposed it, the other four then did not press the issue further. So what has happened is that Tata Trust now has two nominees on the Tata Sons board. Vijay Singh has stepped down. Vijay Singh, in fact, I think was informed that this was going to happen, so he stepped down before the meeting. But that's a technicality. I mean, he was kind of removed, and so it was a contentious board meeting, and obviously it's a fairly unprecedented event in the history of Tata Trust, which has been known to work in a collegial atmosphere. So clearly, the tension of the matter could not be resolved in the month, and there is now a meeting in October 10th, which is this Friday. The board of trustees are supposed to meet with the issues still unresolved. And this seems to have prompted the Noel Tata, the Noel Tata Group to approach the government and to seek the government's intervention into the matter. So Noel Tata, Venu Srinivasan, Chandra, and Darius Khambata, who actually was part of the other four directors. I mean, look, they're all directors, but these are the two groups.
Yeah.
Was part of this meeting with the HM, and at which the finance minister was also present. So yeah, it's the unresolved tension between the two group of trustees which has resulted.
I also want to ask you, I mean, you know, Mr. Ratan Tata, when he was around, he had his fair share of this, you know, corporate board battle that was going on with Cyrus Mistry. And tomorrow, I believe, is the first year anniversary of Mr. Tata's demise. You think this issue he would have handled differently? Because, again, I'm coming into it from the point of view that, you know, just 4 years ago, we had this really internecine kind of corporate boardroom war that happened, went all the way up to the Supreme Court, and it took the Supreme Court to settle it once and for all.
But that's hard to predict. But I mean, you know, the point is what you're referring to is the removal of Cyrus Mistry as chairman of Tata Sons by Mr. Ratan Tata, and by the Tata Sons born in November 2016. And as you said, this led to prolonged legal battles, which went through all the the national. The NCLT, then the Appellate Tribunal. Eventually, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of Tata Sons. That is, what the Supreme Court said was that the removal was legal. Now, how RNT would have handled it, we can only guess. But that conflict or that dispute certainly is not, at least there's nothing in the public domain to indicate that there was any political inputs into the decision. There was certainly a clash between RNT, who's the kind of patriarch of the Tata Group, and Cyrus Mistry, who, as you know, the SP Group are a big shareholder in Tata Sons. They own 18.4%. And they're the largest single shareholders because the trust's a charitable trust, and then the shares are held by other Tata Group companies, and there are small equity holdings by members of the Tata family, including Mr. Ratan Tata and Mr. Noel Tata. But it was a very major conflict, and there is between RNT and Cyrus and the SP Group. As I said, one doesn't know what may have happened behind the scenes. But my understanding is, by the way, is that the government was always clear that that RNT, because of his towering stature, I'm putting it in simple terms, had the right to run the Tata Group and had the right to make senior appointments to the Tata Group. I think the government was very clear on that. That is my understanding.
Okay.
And there is no known government or political input or involvement in that matter.
All right. Bodhi, we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much.
Noel Tata now to inherit the mantle and, to bring the trustees together, to inherit RNT's mantle.
Yeah.
So let's see whether that
let's see whether that happens. Maybe we'll get a first indication on Friday when the next board meeting happens. Thank you very much. Bodhisattva Ganguly is the consulting editor with Money Control, giving us his thoughts and perspective into this big battle that is brewing now in one of India's biggest conglomerates. I want to now shift focus to the other story that we're tracking, and 20 children have died in Madhya Pradesh after consuming cold riff, which tested positive for a compound named diethylene glycol, or DEG. It's a highly toxic industrial chemical which is known to cause kidney failure. Weeks later, grieving parents are still searching for answers. So far, just one person, who happens to be a doctor, a pediatrician, who was a government doctor who was indulging in private practice, he's the only one, Dr. Soni, he's the only one who's been arrested. The Indian Medical Association has written to the Union Health Minister JP Nadda seeking his intervention decisively in order to get the immediate withdrawal of the case against Dr. Praveen Soni. In fact, they've also asked the centre to focus the investigation and the enforcement resources on the manufacturer, which is a pharmaceutical company, a small-time pharmaceutical manufacturer. We showed the visuals of that factory just a couple of hours off Chennai, Sarsan Pharma. And there is nothing there. It's a ramshackle, rundown building with drums outside. It doesn't even look like a proper factory. So the IMA wants the enforcement agencies, the investigating agencies to focus their energies on the manufacturer and the regulatory bodies. There is the Central Drug Regulatory Safety Authority, and then, of course, there are state regulators whose job it is really to be actually giving the go-ahead for these drugs to be in the market, and also to test various batches of these drugs. Clearly, there was failure on the front of both the regulator as well as the manufacturer, which led to this tragic loss. There is, so far at least, no criminal proceeding against any of them.
मध्य प्रदेश में आज की स्थिति में 3 लैब्स हैं और हम 6000 सैंपल्स प्रति वर्ष तक की जांच करने की क्षमता वर्तमान में है। अब
अभी कितने आ चुके हैं?
अभी लगभग 5500 हमारे पास सैंपल्स हैं जिनको हमको टेस्ट करने हैं। तो 8 से 10 महीने के अंदर ये पूरे सैंपल्स जांच इनकी हो जाती है। हमारे पास जैसे कोल्ड ड्रिफ्ट की आप बात करेंगे कि 134 का हमको रिकॉर्ड मिल चुका है। 17 अभी ऐसे हैं जो कि ले गए थे और इनको अभी हमको ट्रेस निरंतर जारी है। ये टीम निरंतर उसमें घर घर जाके वर्क कर रही है।
Meanwhile, Union Health Ministry sources say that the ongoing issue over the deaths of at least 20 children linked to the toxic cough syrup cold drift is not a blame game between the centre and various state governments, particularly in this case the Tamil Nadu government, because this factory happens to be in Tamil Nadu, but it's a question of accountability. The Health Ministry has told CNN News 18 that Tamil Nadu FDA had ignored checks and balances at the this particular unit of the Stresan Pharma in Kanchipuram. They also added that Form 25 of the license to manufacture common formulation allopathic drugs is given by the state drug controller and it's governed by them. The CDSCO has already recommended the cancellation of license of the firm in question and also pointed that the cancellation too has to be done by the state drug controller. So it essentially looks like there is a passing of buck, if you will, between the state and centre as far as why no action has been taken so far against the manufacturer.
The death toll in Madhya Pradesh's Chindwara stands at 19 and around 9 children continues to be on life support in a hospital in Nagpur. Meanwhile, there are a number of questions that remain unanswered. For example, upon the request of Madhya Pradesh government, it was the Tamil Nadu FDA that tested the sample of cold drift for the first time. They checked that how this particular cold drift cough syrup contains DEG, diethylene glycol, which is an industrial solvent beyond the permissible limit. So was this a case of just few batches that were spurious or contaminated, or was this particular company flouting rules for years altogether? Because when we talk about Stresan Pharmaceutical Company in Kanchipuram, they have in fact been manufacturing medicines for cold and cough and also cough syrups like cold drift for years altogether. So were they actually flouting and misguiding the Tamil Nadu FDA for years altogether? Because the Health Ministry sources suggest that when the central and the state team reached to raid the manufacturing unit, they found that number of rules were flouted, be it the storage, distribution, or even the quality check that needs to be done before the distribution was flouted by this company. So was the Tamil Nadu FDA blindsided as far as this manufacturing unit is concerned? Because the Health Ministry maintains that health is a state subject and the Form 25 or the license that needs to be given to a pharmaceutical company or the quality check that needs to be done has to be done by the drug controller of the said state.
Meanwhile, we're getting some breaking news in regard to this cough syrup story, the deaths that have been caused. The World Health Organization has now responded to CNN News 18. The statement says that WHO is closely monitoring recent media reports from India regarding clusters of pediatric illnesses and deaths in the states of Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan. The WHO has contacted the Central Drug Standard Control Organization, the CDSCO, for further information on these events, including clarification of whether there are potential links to contaminated medicines and whether these products were exported to other countries. I want to go across now to Himani, who's got this response from the WHO. Is there any role, what role, if any, does the WHO have in being able to monitor, who was responsible for this or recommending any kind of action against those individuals? What's the kind of level of cooperation that we see between the WHO and its the respective Indian agencies here, whether it's the CDSCO or the DCGI and so on?
Right. Zaka, WHO has contacted the country's apex drug regulatory agency, CDSCO, and has asked for more details on 2 points. One is they have sought clarification on the details of contamination. In the response, they say that so far there is no confirmation if the contamination is linked to diethylene glycol or if there is some other contamination. Second clarification they have sought is if these products are or were being exported, because WHO is a UN health agency, it's a global health regulator. It may not be able to intervene directly in the Indian authorities or with the Indian manufacturers, but depending on the response that Indian government will give to WHO, WHO will then assess the global medical product alert, which means that globally across countries, all health regulators will be put on alert for these particular products that are made in India syrup. We have seen this kind of alert was being issued in October 2022 when several children in Gambia lost their lives due to contaminated cough syrup, and in that case we found DEG was the major culprit.
So, what is the difference between what happened in Gambia and what is happening now, or is it the exact same thing? Just the brands have changed and the companies have changed.
Right. You're right. This episode seems like a repeat of what happened in Gambia in 2022, followed by Uzbekistan as well. Because DEG1 is one of the cheapest possible solvent, and when we say that Sresen Pharma was manufacturing cough syrups laced with DEG, probably Sresen Pharma was not the one that was manufacturing the solvent, because generally pharma companies purchase these solvents from the third-party manufacturers. And these third-party manufacturers are not just selling to one pharma company. They might be selling to the entire ecosystem of pharma firms. And then it becomes a bigger tragedy. This seems to be much deeper issue than this is just a tip of an iceberg, it seems, because yesterday Gujarat FDA has also found contaminated cough syrups, and they have also issued alert against 2 companies.
Okay, so it's the solvent, and that may not necessarily have been manufactured by this particular company, but we'll see how it plays out. Thank you very much, Imani, for joining us and putting that into perspective. So the WHO now responding to CNN News 18's queries. Let me also go across to Dr. Sanjeev Bagai, who's a Padma Shri awardee and chairman of the Nephron Clinic, one of India's foremost pediatricians. Dr. Bagai, I know there's a lot of anger in the medical community amongst the doctors. We saw the IMA statement. The fact that only one arrest has happened, and that too of a pediatrician who prescribed this at a time when there was no ban on this particular medicine, and surely it's not the doctor's job to go and check, which batch was contaminated and which batch was not. The fact that there seems to be now this blame game going on between Central Drug Authority, which is the CDSCO, and the state regulators just seems to indicate that, they're just passing the buck.
Good evening. Repeatedly, I've said my prayers and condolences to the families who lost their innocent infants and children. It's unacceptable, it's unfair, and it's completely unholy. 2 parts to this entire discussion. The first part is of the contamination. Now, this is a poisonous ingredient. It's an industrial solvent, which is basically used in brake oils, in paints, in car greases, in shoe polish, and so on. So obviously, it is toxic and poisonous to any human being, more so for a child. It goes through very, very quick absorption, Zaka. Within 20 minutes, it's absorbed into the body. It's very poorly excreted. That means it's retained in the body. That I'm talking about ethylene glycol and diethylene glycol. These are carbonated poisons. And then they affect the brain. A child can have convulsions, hallucinations, seizures, unconsciousness, and death. Affect the heart, the rhythm disturbances, and sudden cardiac arrest, or indeed involve the eyes. And more importantly, this is metabolized to a compound known as oxalic acid. That means it forms crystals and deposits in the kidney. The child ultimately goes into metabolic shutdown and acute kidney failure. With the kind of lower socioeconomic class or comorbidities or malnutrition, along with acute kidney failure, the death rate is extremely high. Now comes to the aspect of what has happened. This should not be in any food product or anything which is ingested or inhaled. So obviously there is a systemic process lapse in which there is no quality check, there are no audits, there are no forensic checks, there is no standardization. This is completely unacceptable. There is no fault of the doctor. I repeat, no fault of the doctor. He unfortunately has become a soft target, and I think he must be reinstated with full honor. Coming to what we need to do further, we need a great amount of public awareness on 2 parts. One is from the government, so that they have more resources and manpower to check the units pan-India. It need not only be
who should be held accountable for this, doctor? Somebody cleared this batch of faulty medicine, as a result of which 20 kids today are dead. Who is that somebody?
The state councils, the manufacturing units who they report to. And I think the right from the Prime Minister, I would request that he takes an intervention and enforces the strictest punishment possible to the errant companies. With regards to the use of cough syrups, In a very small infant, we tend not to use it, but in a slightly older child, under medical supervision, in a calculated dose with specific indications, cough syrups are used. I want to add one rider in the end. Combination cough syrups are always a confusion and it can cause more complication. Never give it across the counter. Pharmacists and chemists should not be prescribing it. It should be with a valid medical prescription, preferably from a pediatrician for a slightly older child. But there is no fault of this doctor who's been held guilty and perhaps his career being tarnished.
Okay.
No point in doing that.
Dr. Bogai, thank you very much. It's always a pleasure speaking with you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us on Brass Tacks. I want to move on to some political stories, and there's a big churn in Bihar politics just ahead of the elections. The dates were announced just yesterday, in fact on Monday, but his seat-sharing talks have now heated up ahead of the 2025 Vidhan Sabha election. On the NDA side, the BJP is leading the negotiations with its allies as it seeks to finalize a seat-sharing formula. There are internal debates that are continuing even within the opposition camp between the RJD and the Congress. In fact, the Congress has still not decided whether to endorse Tejashwi Yadav as the CM face of the alliance or not. Less than a month to go now before phase 1, which happens on the 6th of November, and both sides seem to be playing catch up. So let's look at it one by one. What's happening in the NDA camp? In the NDA, sources have told CNN News 18 that the JDU may contest around 102, 103 seats. The BJP might have one less than the JDU because, you know, the chief minister is from the JDU. Even though the BJP won more number of seats, the JDU is considered the senior partner there. So it could be 103, 102 between the JDU and the BJP. The problem is not even the big two parties, it's the smaller parties. Chirag Paswan's LJP is seeking 20 to 25 seats. Smaller partners like the Manjhi's party and Kushwaha's party are bargaining for anywhere between 8 to 10 seats each. This is not something that has been resolved yet. There were cryptic tweets and messages today from Chirag Paswan as well as from Jitan Ram Manjhi. Is this just bargaining to try and get a better hand, a better deal, a better number of seats? Or are they doing this with some serious consequences to follow? Aman Sharma, our political editor, is in Bihar and this is the report he filed.
Distribution amongst the various parties always goes till the last lap, and this election is no different. Speaking first of the NDA, where the BJP and the JDU are the two big parties, the JDU is looking to contest at least 103 seats and the BJP is looking to contest nearly 102 seats. But the trouble here is that the JDU has left the onerous task of placating the other allies to the BJP. It is the BJP which is speaking to Chirag Paswan, to Jitan Ram Manjhi, to Upendra Kushwaha, trying to scale down their ambitions in the terms of seats. The latest that we hear is that Chirag Paswan of the LJP wants at least 35 seats to contest because he has 5 MPs and he is saying his strike record is very good. The BJP can't afford to give him more than 20 to 22 seats and the dialogue with Chirag Paswan is still continuing as we speak. But Jitan Ram Manjhi from the HAM party, which last time contested 7 seats from the NDA camp, won 4 of them, this time is asking for at least 15 seats. He's even put out a statement on X saying if he doesn't get 15 seats, he would want to sit out this election, though he will not leave the NDA. Then there is Upendra Kushwaha, again somebody who wants at least 15 seats, but the BJP is trying to convince him to fight just about 6 to 7 seats. Which way Chirag Paswan goes, and if he agrees to the BJP's offer of just 20 to 22 seats, and if Manjhi fights the election or not, if he's not given 15 seats, could have large impact on the electoral mathematic for the NDA in Bihar. The Mahagathbandhan on the other side seems to have even bigger problems because here the RJD, which contested about 144 seats the last time, this time wants to contest a minimum of 135 seats and wants the Congress party to come down from its tally of 70 seats it fought last time to below 55 or even 50. The Congress is not agreeable to this, but the RJD is citing that Congress strike rate in the elections in Bihar is very, very poor. Last time also it won just 19 out of the 70 seats it contested, and that is why the RJD is trying to press the Congress to contest on about 55 to 60 seats. Litti Chokha and Chai. These are the two specialities of Bihar. When you come to Patna, you can't miss them. This food and this tea. And we are at the what they call the Marine Drive of Patna. Here families come in the evening for a good time, just have a cup of tea, just hang out with their children, bring them here to this colorful atmosphere of Patna. And you know, this is the JP Ganga Path, which is also, as I said, known as the Marine Drive of Patna. And here we'll speak to पीपल। आपको क्या लग रहा है, क्या 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 होने जा रहा है इस बार बिहार में?
प्रशांत किशोर इज प्लेइंग वोट कटवा पॉलिटिक्स और जीतना चाहिए एनडीए को और एनडीए ही जीतेगा।
एनडीए ही जीतेगा, ऐसा क्यों? क्या लगता है, नीतीश कुमार और बीजेपी ने काम किया?
They have created such type of platform for the sake of development of Bihar and all, not for only young people. They have thought about the house wives, house people's,
women also,
women's kids also. They are thinking on that aspect also, and they have created a road map itself.
रोड मैप क्रिएट किया। आपको लगता है कि तेजस्वी कह रहे हैं कि हम 2500 रुपया देंगे वुमेन को, हम पावर में आते हैं तो हम रोजगार बढ़ाएंगे, ये सब कोई फैक्टर्स है कि लोग खुश हैं नीतीश कुमार और बीजेपी से?
I think by and large people are happy with Nitish Kumar, but I can see that Prashant Kishore can play spoil sport. But what we require is people with wisdom, and I think Nitish Kumar ji has got a very good vision and lot of wisdom to manage such a complex state.
जो यूथ है बिहार का वो किसका फैन है? प्रशांत किशोर का फैन है, तेजस्वी यादव का फैन है कि नीतीश कुमार का फैन है? अभी
हम लोग तो आरजेडी वाले हैं।
आरजेडी वाले हैं, तो तेजस्वी भैया के फैन है सब आप?
जी नहीं, तेजस्वी नहीं, लालू यादव।
लालू यादव के फैन है?
लालू यादव।
अच्छा
जी,
तो
यहाँ पे बीजेपी के भी हैं सपोर्टर। अच्छा। कोई दिक्कत नहीं, हम लोग मिलजुल के पढ़ रहते हैं।
अच्छा
जी, सब लोग मिलकर यहाँ पे हम बीजेपी से हैं।
अच्छा,
ये भी बीजेपी से है, बट सब लोग मिलकर।
आपको क्यों लगता है कि बीजेपी ही जीतेगी?
बीजेपी जीतेगी ये अभी तय नहीं है, लेकिन कुछ भी हो सकता है, ये चुनाव है, इसमें तो कुछ भी हो सकता है
जी। और
जनराज का भी माहौल लग रहा है इस बार।
माहौल लग रहा है?
हाँ बिल्कुल, बिहार में अच्छा दबदबा बन चुका है, माहौल लग रहा है।
अभी कुछ नहीं, जब होगा तो जानकारी दी जाएगी। अभी बातचीत अभी चल रही है, जैसे ही फाइनल होगा वो जरूर बताया जाएगा।
आप यहाँ पर संतुष्ट हैं? जो रिस्पांस मिला संतुष्ट है?
आज मैं सिर्फ मेरे नेता, मेरे पिता आदरणीय रामविलास पासवान जी की पुण्यतिथि पर पूरे परिवार के साथ हूँ। मेरा पूरा परिवार यहाँ पर है। आज सिर्फ मैं हूँ, पापा हैं और उनकी यादें हैं।
बीजेपी के रिस्पांस से खुश हैं?
सारी बातें स्पष्ट हो जाएंगी बहुत जल्द।
अब क्योंकि एनडीए की सरकार बनानी है, फिर से वही सरकार बनानी है।
जा रहा था कि चिराग पासवान नाराज चल रहे हैं, क्या उनकी नाराजगी दूर हो गई है? सभी घटक दलों के नेताओं से बात हो गई है?
वार्ता चल रही है, सभी लोगों से बात करके इसको आगे बढ़ाने का काम किया जा रहा है। बिहार में विकास बनाम विनाश, इसकी लड़ाई है। एक तरफ विनाशवादी पार्टी है और एक तरफ विकासवादी पार्टी। इसी पर हम जनता के बीच में जाएंगे। हाँ, लालू जी के पास वोट है। लालू जी जिसके हाथ के ऊपर हाथ रखेंगे, जिसके सर पर, वही नेता है। लालू जी पहले राबड़ी जी को मुख्यमंत्री बनाए थे, अब वो अपने बेटा को चाहते हैं। MIM भी है, बसपा भी है, कई पार्टियां हैं। ये आते हैं, चुनाव में तो आना ही है ना, चुनाव में ही आएंगे, चुनाव के बाद सब चले जाएंगे।
Prime Minister Modi tore into the UPA government for their inaction in taking on the terror infrastructure across the border. He was speaking at the inauguration of the Navi Mumbai airport. The Prime Minister said that the UPA's message of weakness allowed Pakistan to attack India time and time again and cost India dear. This comes at a time when the Congress and other parties in the India alliance have accused the Prime Minister of surrendering to Pakistan by calling for a ceasefire bang in the middle of Operation Sindoor under pressure from the Trump administration. Rahul Gandhi, in fact, has accused the Prime Minister of restraining the hands of the Indian armed forces. But contrast those claims with what former Home Minister P. Chidambaram said in a recent interview. He said that the whole world was descending upon Delhi, telling us not to start a war in the aftermath of 26/11. He also added that Condoleezza Rice, the then US Secretary of State, had met him and the then Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh and said, please do not react. He goes on to say that it did not cross his mind that we should do some retribution, but India did not physically react. He recanted the statement a few days later after his interview, but it has now been ammunition to the BJP. Let's listen in to what the Prime Minister said.
कांग्रेस के एक बड़े नेता जो देश के गृह मंत्री तक रह चुके हैं, उन्होंने एक इंटरव्यू में बहुत बड़ा खुलासा किया है। उन्होंने दावा किया है कि मुंबई हमले के बाद हमारी सेनाएं पाकिस्तान पर हमला करने को तैयार थी। पूरा देश भी उस समय यही चाहता था, लेकिन उस कांग्रेस नेता की मां ने तो किसी दूसरे देश के दबाव के कारण तब कांग्रेस सरकार ने भारत की सेनाओं को पाकिस्तान पर हमला करने से रोक दिया था। कांग्रेस को यह बताना होगा कि वो कौन था जिसने विदेशी दबाव में फैसला लिया, जिसने मुंबई की देश की भावना से खिलवाड़ किया। और देश को ये जानने का हक है, कांग्रेस की इस कमजोरी ने आतंकवादियों को मजबूत किया, देश की सुरक्षा को कमजोर किया, जिसकी कीमत देश को बार बार जाने गंवाकर चुकानी पड़ी। साथियों, हमारे लिए देश और देशवासियों की सुरक्षा से बढ़कर कुछ भी नहीं है।
Let's get to our second part of Brass Tacks tonight, because the UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer is in Mumbai. That marks his first visit to India since taking over as the new British Prime Minister since 2024. He kicked off Britain's largest ever trade mission to India with a witty in-flight address from the cockpit. He's got more than 125 business leaders and executives on board. It is the largest business delegation that any British Prime Minister has brought to India. But his mid-air message was a symbolic takeoff for what London hopes to be a major economic partnership with New Delhi. The two-day visit by Keir Starmer will see Prime Minister Modi and him take stock of the progress made across all aspects of the India-UK Comprehensive Strategic Partnership. They've also outlined a Vision 2035, which is a 10-year roadmap alongside the India-UK Free Trade Agreement, which was signed just a few months ago back in July when Prime Minister Modi was in London. Our Siddhant Mishra is down in Mumbai, where all the meetings, the formal meetings, will happen tomorrow. But today was Keir Starmer's first day out in Mumbai. He brings you an update.
Prime Minister Keir Starmer is on a two-day visit to India. He landed in Mumbai this morning. He was given red carpet welcome by the Indian government. In fact, from the airport to the hotel, on both sides of the road, hoardings, billboards have been put welcoming Prime Minister Starmer and the delegation traveling with him. He is traveling with 125 delegates, the top executives of the top multinational companies in Britain. Perhaps the idea is to give push to trade and investment. As far as his today's engagements are concerned, he went to the Yash Raj studios, and in fact a small film was also screened at the Yash Raj studio for Prime Minister Starmer and delegation. In fact, Yash Raj production house has announced 3 films to be shot in UK, perhaps, which will create more jobs, more opportunities. After which Prime Minister Starmer went to the Cooperage ground, which is famous for football matches. In fact, he did participate in a small event organized by English Premier League. Later in the day, EM S. Jaishankar called on Prime Minister Starmer. Now, tomorrow is a day for business. He will hold delegation level and restricted level talks with Prime Minister Modi at Raj Bhavan. In fact, this will be followed by the press statement by both the leaders.
So the big thing was, of course, the India-UK FTA, which was signed back in July when the Prime Minister was there in London. It not only enhances market access, but also protects certain sensitive sectors. It's poised to generate substantial economic benefits across a range of industries, while also deepening strategic ties. Here's a sector-wise sort of look at the gains that India could potentially look at after the FTA has been signed. The current UK tariffs of anywhere between 8 to 16% will be eliminated by and large. It will be brought down to zero or near zero for a bulk of the products, more than 90% of them. This is expected to boost exports from key textile hubs like Tirupur, Surat and Ludhiana. Some beneficiary companies will be companies like Wellspun India, Arvind Limited. There will be zero duty access, which will benefit manufacturers in Agra, Kanpur as well as Chennai. It will also benefit companies like Bata India and Relaxo. These are footwear manufacturers and who export to the UK. Also, Indian electric vehicle manufacturers and hybrid car makers, whether it's Tata Motors or Mahindra, and Mahindra, particularly their electric divisions, will benefit from reduced import tariffs into the UK as well as preferential quotas for Indian car manufacturers. The removal of British duties, the duties that have been imposed in the UK, up to 16%, will aid exporters, particularly from Gujarat and Maharashtra. The zero tariffs to benefit companies like Bharat Forge and others who specialize in auto components and engineering goods will also be a significant marker. There will be improved access for Indian pharma companies to the British market. Reduced or zero tariffs will provide an export boost to furniture, to toys, sports goods manufacturers, chemicals and machinery.
Well, Starmer arrived on a plane packed with business leaders, as we saw, and of course, as he made sure we would, and that was even before he left London here. It was a show, really, that he means business, and he means it for Britain, of course, but he means it also for his own political survival. His ratings have hit a record low. He is not a popular figure, or what is more, he's not particularly popular within his Labour Party, and Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham upstaged him at the Labour Party conference that just concluded. So now there is that to worry about specifically, even if not immediately. Starmer's ratings, in fact, fell further after that party conference. So from the opposition, he certainly doesn't have the Conservative Party to worry about, but that's no reassurance. The danger from outside Labour now really primarily and heavily is the Reform Party led by Nigel Farage, and Farage leads Starmer currently by 5 points now as the preferred Prime Minister, 31 to 26, and Tory leader Kemi Badenoch is third at 18. Starmer is a jittery leader now. He never really took off after that early scandal about those free suits and glasses and whatnot. He needs a success story now to show off, and he wants that very much to be this visit to India.
Well, we'll get to the domestic implications of what Starmer is trying to achieve at a time when there's rising anti-immigrant rhetoric in the UK. But he also visited, by the way, Yash Raj Studios alongside a delegation from some of Britain's biggest film bodies as Yash Raj Studios completes 20 years of operations in India. He announced that the leading Indian film production and distribution company will make 3 of its major productions to locations across the United Kingdom starting early 2026, and that could potentially create up to 3,000 jobs and boost the economy of the UK by millions of pounds.
You were on flight with Prime Minister Starmer this morning. What was the feeling like? Explain to us the vibe, the energy on flight, and the kind of welcome which has been extended by India to Prime Minister Starmer.
Prime Minister Starmer is now like a film star. Every place I look at right now, it's got his photographs. He was joking with me in the morning today to say he should think about a stint in Bollywood. So he feels very welcome, we feel very welcome, and no one slept on the plane. There was so much energy and so much excitement.
So just, putting this into context as to why Starmer needs this India visit so badly, because remember, Prime Minister was just in London a few months ago. The historic UK-India FTA was signed just a few months ago. But the reason why Starmer needs this visit so badly is because his domestic ratings have really plummeted. If elections were to be held today in the UK, and he's been in office just a little over a year, but if elections were to be held in the UK today, Starmer will lose. Nigel Farage of Reform UK, which is not that old a party, it came around during the Brexit time, so it's less than 10 years old. He and his party will be the number one party. He would likely be the next Prime Minister if elections were held today. And a big reason for that is there's a massive anti-immigrant sentiment that is rising across the UK, and no political party, whether it is Reform or Labour or the Tories, the traditional Conservatives, none of them can be seen or afford to be seen as on the other side of this anti-immigrant rhetoric that is really passing through British politics right now. So that's why Starmer needs the India visit. I'm going to put that into context for you with a little explainer. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer's Labour government has been under intense pressure from scores of its own members to demonstrate more robust support for the Palestinians. But a terrorist attack at a synagogue last week in Manchester, which led to the death of 2 people during prayer services on Yom Kippur, one of the holiest holidays for the Jewish community, that has now exposed a competing political reality for the British Prime Minister. There is growing anger among Jews in Britain who believe that Starmer's government is doing far too little to protect them from the rising hate and the rising anti-Semitism. The Manchester police have said that the synagogue attack was carried out by a man named Jihad al-Shami, who's a British citizen of Syrian origin. They say that he was influenced by what they describe as the extreme Islamist ideology.
A vile individual committed a terrorist attack that attacked Jews because they are Jews and attacked Britain because of our values. So many Jewish families first came to this country as a place of refuge, fleeing the greatest evil ever inflicted on a people. And Britain welcomed them. Communities like the one attacked in Manchester provided safety, but also the security that comes from a promise that this is a country that stands up to hatred, and that we don't just provide refuge, we provide a home.
The anger at Starmer's government was especially evident during a vigil that happened Friday for the victims of the synagogue terrorist attack. David Lammy, who's the Deputy Prime Minister, virtually the number 2 in Starmer's cabinet, was booed off the stage by a crowd that angrily chanted, "Shame on you."
Shame on you! Shame on you!
They loudly demanded that Starmer government stop all these pro-Palestinian marches, saying that they instill fear in the minds of Jewish residents. On Saturday, there was a massive protest in London against the British government and its ban of a pro-Palestinian group. That rally went ahead despite a formal request from the London Metropolitan Police to cancel it. More than 300 people had been arrested for holding signs which supported Palestine action. On Sunday, there was a separate rally, a counter-rally of sorts in Trafalgar Square, honouring those who were taken hostage during the October 7, 2023 Hamas attack on Israel. It called on Hamas to release all the remaining hostages, which is the first point of the Trump peace plan, which Hamas has now agreed to. Tuesday marks the 2-year anniversary of the Hamas attack in Israel, in which 1,200 people were killed. These two back-to-back rallies over the weekend, one in support of an independent Palestine, the other in support of the abducted Jewish hostages, just a day apart, mark just how starkly divided Britain is on the issue of the war on Gaza, and also, by consequence, whether the support or the hate that is directed at Israel and the Jewish community at large.
Today is a day to remember the deaths of over 1,000 people 2 years ago, and that is, of course, terrible. But if that is terrible, what is killing perhaps as many as 200,000 people in Gaza since then? And those are murders not just created by a separate state from Britain, but actively supported by this country in terms of diplomatic support, military support, sending weapons. The RAF and other military sections of the British society have been supporting what's been happening in Gaza, and it's not what the British people want, it's not what these students want, and it's absolutely outrageous.
Keir Starmer rose to power in the Labour Party by pledging to rid its ranks of anti-Semitism that had flourished under his predecessor, Jeremy Corbyn. Eager to repair his relationship with Britain's nearly 300,000 Jewish voters, when he was elected Prime Minister back in 2024, Starmer said in his acceptance speech that anti-Semitism was a stain on his party, and he vowed to tear out this poison from its roots. But a year plus later, the pressure and the politics on Starmer has completely shifted. There are about 4 million Muslims in Britain right now, and the 2-year war between Israel and Hamas has galvanized them as the death toll in Gaza has now gone upwards of 65,000.
So today, to revive the hope of peace and a two-state solution, I state clearly, as Prime Minister of this great country, that the United Kingdom formally recognises the state of Palestine.
Starmer at the recent UN General Assembly formally recognized a Palestinian state. This happened last month, a step which many pro-Palestinian activists said was too slow in coming. More than 250 British members of parliament from 9 different political parties, including Starmer's party, the Labour Party, signed a letter urging Britain to recognize Palestinian statehood. Britain joined France, Canada, and Australia as some of the leading Western countries to recognize an independent Palestine. But Starmer is facing increasing pressure from the right, which has now manifested itself into multiple political parties with their various iterations. The most popular politician on the right happens to be Nigel Farage of Reform UK, who's a populist right-winger, much like Donald Trump in the United States. 2 months ago, Farage unveiled a plan where he said he would deport up to 600,000 illegal immigrants out of Britain if his party Reform UK is voted to power in the next elections in 2029. Multiple polls have shown that Nigel Farage is the most popular politician in Britain right now, and immigration, illegal immigration, is the #1 hot button issue. And right on cue, the new leader of the Conservative Party, or the Tories as they are known, the traditional opposition party in Britain, Keir Badenoch, has unveiled a similar plan where she says that the Tories would deport up to 150,000 illegal immigrants out of Britain every year for the next 4 years if they are voted to power. The fact that this was announced by a black woman, Keir Badenoch happens to be a black woman who's the leader of the Conservative Party, whose parents moved to the UK to birth her. She then grew up in Lagos in Nigeria and then moved to Britain only after she became a teenager at 16 years old. The fact that she was talking about deporting illegal immigrants, a majority of whom are people of color, that was an irony that was not lost on anyone. It's a reflection of a broader hardening of the debate around immigration in Britain. It's happening not just on the fringes of the political stream, but also within mainstream political parties, whether it's Reform, whether it's the Tories, or even within Labour Party. And no politician, not even the Prime Minister, can be immune to this immigration debate that is rampaging across Britain. Or the Prime Minister or any other mainstream politician, neither can they afford to sit on the sidelines of this, whether it's the Prime Minister or the Prime Minister in waiting.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Bombay High Court has asked actor Shilpa Shetty and her husband Raj Kundra to first deposit 60 crore rupees if they want to travel to Los Angeles and other foreign countries. Remember, this comes after the couple moved the High Court seeking quashing of a lookout circular issued against them over a FIR related to alleged 60 crore rupees fraud. Now, the High Court, the Bombay High Court, taking a very stern view and asking the couple, actor Shilpa Shetty and her husband Raj Kundra, to first deposit 60 crore rupees if they want permission to travel to any foreign country. Remember, the couple had moved the Bombay High Court seeking quashing of the lookout circular against them in the case where they allegedly defrauded 60 crore rupees. Mayuresh now joins us more on this. Mayuresh, a huge setback for Shilpa Shetty and Raj Kundra. The Bombay High Court taking a very stern view and not giving any relief, saying that they have to deposit 60 crore rupees if they intend to travel abroad.
Absolutely, because they had approached Bombay High Court with the anticipation that they will get some kind of relief from the Apex Court. But now Bombay High Court has asked them that if they have to travel abroad, then they have to basically deposit the 60 crore amount to the court as a surety, or we can say the security deposit, and then only they can go abroad and do their professional work or whatever the commitments they have got. But now it will be interesting to see that what Shilpa Shetty and Raj Kundra do next, whether they deposit that amount or not, or whether they move to the Apex Court or what, that needs to be seen.
Mayuresh, in fact, in cases of this nature, we usually see a lot of argument on the flight risk that is there when somebody approaches the court seeking permission to travel abroad. But looks like the Bombay High Court wants to ensure that the 60 crore rupees is first deposited before they travel, and that's the amount that is allegedly that has been defrauded by the couple.
Absolutely, because as I said, that whenever anyone moves to the High Court or the Apex Court, there is a kind of a sense that they may get some kind of a relief in that matter, and with that aim only the Kundra and Shilpa Shetty had moved to Bombay High Court, because they are in their plea, they have mentioned that they have some prior commitments, and for that they have to travel to abroad. But here the court has taken a very serious case, and they have exactly asked them that.
The 93rd Air Force Day celebrations featured a spectacular aerial showcase by the Heritage Flight, captivating attendees with a tribute to the Indian Air Force's illustrious history. The dynamic display held at the Air Force Station, Hindon, saw a solo performance by the vintage Harvard aircraft celebrating the IAF's legacy and its ongoing service to the nation. Here are some glimpses.
is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Bombay High Court has asked actor Shilpa Shetty and her husband Raj Kundra to first deposit 60 crore rupees if they want to travel to Los Angeles and other foreign countries. Remember, this comes after the couple moved the High Court seeking quashing of a lookout circular issued against them over a FIR related to alleged 60 crore rupees fraud. Now, the High Court, the Bombay High Court, taking a very stern view and asking the couple, actor Shilpa Shetty and her husband Raj Kundra, to first deposit 60 crore rupees if they want permission to travel to any foreign country. Remember, the couple had moved the Bombay High Court seeking quashing of the lookout circular against them in the case where they allegedly defrauded 60 crore rupees. Mayuresh now joins us for more on this. Mayuresh, a huge setback for Shilpa Shetty and Raj Kundra. The Bombay High Court taking a very stern view and not giving any relief, saying that they have to deposit 60 crore rupees if they intend to travel abroad.
Absolutely, because they had approached Bombay High Court with the anticipation that they will get some kind of relief from the Apex Court. But now Bombay High Court has asked them that if they have to travel abroad, then they have to basically deposit the 60 crore amount to the court as a surety, or we can say the security deposit, and then only they can go abroad and do their professional work or whatever the commitments they have got. But now it will be interesting to see that what Shilpa Shetty and Raj Kundra do next, whether they deposit that amount or not, or whether they move to the Apex Court or what, that needs to be seen.
Mayuresh, in fact, in cases of this nature, we usually see a lot of argument on the flight risk that is there when somebody approaches the court seeking permission to travel abroad. But looks like the Bombay High Court wants to ensure that the 60 crore rupees is first deposited before they travel, and that's the amount that is allegedly that has been defrauded by the couple.
Absolutely, because as I said, that whenever anyone moves to the High Court or the Apex Court, there is a kind of a sense that they may get some kind of a relief in that matter. And with that aim only, the Kundra and Shilpa Shetty had moved to Bombay High Court, because they are in their plea, they have mentioned that they have some prior commitments, and for that they have to travel to abroad. But here, the court has taken a very serious case, and they have exactly asked them that first you deposit the 60 crore rupees, and then only we will allow you to go abroad, and whatever the commitments you have, you can fulfill.
In fact, Arunima is also now joining us for more on this. Arunima, we usually see a lot of debate on whether there is a flight risk whenever somebody approaches a court in a matter of this nature. But in this one, the Bombay High Court making it very clear that the couple needs to deposit the money if they intend to travel abroad. Does it now also give a huge boost to the investigating agencies looking into this case now?
Yes, this was a lookout circular which had said that, if they had to travel abroad, the agencies at the immigration point will have to detain them as per this lookout circular. This is a 60 crore fraud case that we're looking at, but there's also a parallel investigation that is going on in the Bitcoin case by the Enforcement Directorate. And in that too, prosecution complaint has been filed by the ED against Raj Kundra. Shilpa Shetty's role too has been mentioned. We'll have to wait and see if the court treats her as an accused in that case or not. But together, these two cases is building up, two separate agencies finding evidence to show prima facie financial fraud or money laundering in the case of ED definitely doesn't augur well. And the fact that they moved a High Court-like platform and could not convince the judge about their intention, because Shilpa Shetty argued that she was an actor, there was professional commitments for which she needed to travel abroad frequently. Raj Kundra also had business, he was a businessman, so he has business commitments. But looks like none of those arguments have cut ice with the Bombay High Court.
Arunima, what are the legal options before the couple now? Can they move to Supreme Court? And
viewers, look at your screens. It's now almost impossible to miss. India's growth stories rising into view. Only the ideologically blinkered will deny it. In just the last few months, Prime Minister Narendra Modi can be seen crisscrossing the length and breadth of the nation, literally from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, inaugurating breathtaking and record-breaking infrastructure projects.